Okay, I am here today with a deck I'm actually really excited about. This is called the Roots of Lenormand, and this was sent to me for the purpose of review. And one of the reasons when, usually somebody, says, I'd like to have you review a deck, I always go look at it. It's very important to me. If I wouldn't in any way, case, or form purchase a deck, or I want to make sure that this is something that is interesting to me in some way. And so when I took a look at this one, I was so excited about this. Here is the information. I'll put the information below as well. We'll see on the inside some more. But what I was so excited about is this. We can see on the side of the box is that it leaves the German suit symbols it has on here instead of the Western ones. And I think this is so important because we can see that here on the corners of the decks. And I absolutely love, obviously we're going to go through the rest of the deck, but I absolutely love that because I know it was one of those things that was very confusing to me, because as somebody who does read playing card divination, and when they are, when we look at the sort of French cartomancy symbols that are on there, it's interesting because it doesn't always make sense, because when we look at playing card divination, see, I'm not going to go into a teaching about cartomancy, but if we look at cartomancy in terms of the way that I guess you would probably call it Western cartomancy, I'm not sure, but when I look at just the style of cartomancy that I learned with playing card divination, spades are a difficult suit, and they would be connected to the acorns, not to in terms of the German decks, they'd be connected to the acorns. And it makes much more sense when you are understanding that acorns in the German traditions are more about those challenges, and all of these, the cross, the mice, the mountain, the fox and bear, I have my own beliefs about that, but regardless, broom, snake, clouds, the more difficult, challenging cards are in the acorns. And so that's something to make sure that you understand the connections there. And so for me, hearts are connected to hearts, bells are connected to diamonds, leaves are connected to clubs, and acorns are connected to spades. And it is that understanding that acorns are about challenges, hearts are about home and friendship and emotions in both hearts, and spades and leaves are about relationships and connections and things of those types things. We also go through some other stuff with clubs. And so this is really important. So here I just pulled out a scat deck because you can see these are so beautiful. We've got the hearts, right? We've got acorns, we've got leaves, and we have the bells here. And so I just love that those are there, because it makes a lot more sense when we look as people who read traditional playing card divination, in the sense of I guess it would be Western playing card, but I'm not sure that you would necessarily call it that. When we look at spades, we're looking at the difficult cards in the deck. But if you associate those spades with leaves, it doesn't really make sense, just because of the shape get changed to spades. It doesn't make sense in terms of traditional cartomancy. But the negative cards in German cartomancy are associated with the acorns. And so when you go and you look at the acorns, it makes a lot more sense. Although fox and bear, we can argue, that's just me arguing those things, but we look at the mountains, we look at the mice, those types of more negative connotations there, and the challenging. And I would certainly think that long-term commitment's challenging as well. And the across, right? We see those difficulties there. And she even gives, or I say she, but I don't even know, so I should not say that. They say, you know, they give you that. Hearts are about relationships, love, and happiness. Bells are about money, prizes, fortune, and prosperity. Leaves are about joy, enjoyment, social interactions. And acorns are about hard work and difficulty, challenges, those types of things. So having that, I think, is fantastic, and also the way in which they are associated to the seasons. So I just love that. It makes a lot more sense into the meanings that we generally have around traditional, or not traditional, but Western, what we now, you know, pick up a deck of playing cards, certainly in the United States, symbols of the hearts and the spades and the clubs and the diamonds don't really translate to what we see on an old style of Lenormand. And so just bringing it to its roots, to the German symbols, I just think it's fantastic. I was so excited to see that. Of course, you can see that in the old Lenormand, and you can get a large size of that from Lo Scarabeo, I think they call it under or Primal Lenormand. I'll have to pull the box. You can have the German symbols through that one. But most of the decks, Lenormand decks that you get today, have the standard playing card associations, which again, if you read playing cards, doesn't make a lot of a correlation. So I love that. Love, love, love that. So I was so excited to see that. Okay, moving on. Moving on to the beautiful deck. So again, here we have the information. I don't want to slaughter the name here, but I will put their website there below in the description box below so that you can find this. And it says here, the roots of Lenormand deck and its box are artisanal handmade products. Any variations or imperfections in any of the items should not be considered a defect, but the result of a handmade creation. The box is one of these kind of like folding boxes here. I do like the connotation of folding boxes, of kind of the older style. So I have some older styles like that, and it keeps it. But it's just in all, it's just a tuck box. It's gonna get smashed a little bit. You would probably want to put it into something firmer or into a bag or something, because I think over time this is gonna break down if you're throwing it into your bag or something like that. But I do like the foldy shape of it. Okay, so let's zoom in here and see what we have. Here are the backs, which are just like parchment paper. I really enjoy that. It's something that I've used in other kinds of decks, and I really just like the simplicity of that. It's just paper, old paper that the cards are on. So I'm a fan of that. I will probably go through and put like a parchmenty color Tombow on the edges just to take that stark white off, because I like the parchment look on the fronts of it. But that's just neither here nor there. So again, it's called Roots of Lenormand. You get the information here in 2 languages, and in I'm assuming Spanish and in English. The scenes and costumes that I have represented in these cards recall the style of German society around 1530. Its clean and defined images, together with the finishing and final burnishing done by hand on a virgin natural fiber paper, give it a fresh and elegant appearance, which facilitates the connection with the cards. That's what that one says. And so then we have it here. So we can see that the cards have the German Playing Card Association in one corner, and the other corners it has the connotations to the season on the other ones. I think in personal preference, I probably just having one on the opposite corner versus 3 filling the corners, but there are a lot of older decks that have like random things in the other corners, so it certainly looks very traditional that way. So that's nothing negative about that. That's just personal preference. So here we have the rider, the clover, So again, we've gone from, I would assume that that is spring, but let's double check that because they did give us cards on that. So we have the hearts are spring with the flowers. The bells are summer with the sun. The leaves are autumn with grapes. And the acorns are winter with the snow symbol. So you've got that timing now that's just right on the cards as well, which I think is really great. So again, Rider Clover being a summer card. A beautiful ship card. Ships are one of the ones that I look at with Lenormand. It can be a make it break it, not for any, like a ship is a ship is a ship, but just in terms of decks that I really like, that I really like to use, I usually have to love the ship card because it's just, I don't know, it's just over the years been the one thing that I tend to look at and see. Here we have the house card. I love the colorations on that house. Here we have the tree card. That is beautiful. Here we have the clouds. I actually really like this image of the clouds. We again have it associated here with the acorns. We know that there's some challenging, think about kind of lean times of winter, right? It makes a lot of sense there. But I like that this looks like we would have a hard time looking through this clouds. I like just a snake. I don't really, snakes for me are complications. They're not something that's evil. So I like when it's just a natural snake. We have a lot of complicated feelings when we come up on a snake. Is it poisonous? Is it not poisonous? Like what's going on here? So I like that it's just a snake without any kind of evil connotations. Same thing with the coffin. It's just a coffin. There's not anything particularly spooky about it. It's a coffin. It's an ending. It's a period. And it really kind of highlights it when you put it in connotation with bells and with summertime. Like it doesn't have anything overtly negative about the card itself. For me, it's just an ending. And whether that's good or bad entirely depends upon the situation at hand. Beautiful bouquet. Again, very clear imagery of what these are. It's a scythe. It's nothing that's put on here that's negative. There's actually nothing in this card. The scythe is about hard work of summertime. You're in there, you're tending the fields, you're doing the things that need to be done, you're getting blisters, but you're going to get paid for that. You're going to get a reward from what you're harvesting. So again, I just like, it's just simple symbols that are very clear. Here we have the whip. Again, we've got that acorn tinting that there could be something challenging there, and needing to gain some clarity of the winter, which I like. Love the bird image. This is, of all the cards I have skimmed through here, this is my least favorite, to be honest. It's just the image of it's not my favorite. For me, it doesn't as much go with the rest of the cards as much, the illustrated style, because it does look like something that's coming out of like maybe a book, book illustration, which makes sense for the child. And again, it's not a make it or break it for me, but it's, of all of the images, it's my least favorite. But it's certainly, we have an older image of like an illustration in a storybook of a child on a hobby horse there. Love the fox. Love the bear. Again, they're just, kind of standard, but it has a bit more of that photographic feel. And not all of them do, because obviously that's a painting, but it has a beautiful style to it that matches fine with the photographic. I think that's why this one just stands out so much more. But I love that fox. Fox, bear, star. Beautiful. And now I was just talking to my friend about this because he was working on a photographic Lenormand deck, and he had changed it to flying storks because I love flying storks. But this is beautiful. Again, most of the historical ones have them just standing there. That's just a personal preference. But I love this particular illustration that they've used. I think is gorgeous. Dog. I mean, that is a faithful companion. Love the tower here. Very strong imagery of just sort of getting up, but it has a very strong, a lot of strength to that energy. Here we have the garden. Here we have the mountain. Beautiful. Here we have the crosser. Again, I like a strong, we got to go one way or another. Again, in Lenormand, as long as you know what it is, it really doesn't matter in the end, right? That's the whole point. But there, you know, we all have preferences, and I really love this. Like, okay, we're coming to a place where we've got to go one way or another, or just head into the field, but we've got to make a choice. Love the mice here and the kind of pumpkins and eating of the fruits of our labor. Heart, again, just stands out as a heart. Ring, just a standard image. It's a book. It's a stack of letters tied up. Now, see, this one, so, you know, I have to give it something for this. I got to give some credit where credit's due. When you get to the people cards, the other people cards, so in Lenormand, we have the child, and then, of course, the people, the querent and the significant, or the lady and the man cards are people cards that we have. And so when we look at least this first set, these are very illustrative, and so this does tie in with that. And so that might not be a bad thing in the sense that it's all going to kind of pop in a reading. So we have those options this is the only options. I think there's going to be options, because that often happens, but no, I don't think there's extras here. It's just the Lord and the Lady, or the Man and the Woman card there. And so again, these do match these people cards here. I do like that they are somewhat looking at each other, as we would see traditionally, as well. So those do match together with the child. Beautiful. I prefer a white lily card. Again, it doesn't matter to me, but my preference is the white lily, so I love it. The sun, again, the sun stands out. The even the heart really stands out, but I was trying to get the moon, and then let's grab the star, that's what I was trying to grab back here. Oops, I guess put it over here. The sun and the moon and the star really stands out bright and very illustrative, as well as like the heart. The heart really pops out as well, to quickly be able to find that. So you are getting a bit of a mix of sort of graphics, right? More of an art style here. There are some more photographs that have been put into the scenery, and then more sort of image bases that are put in, and then we have those couple illustrative styles like with the writer. So this is definitely a compilation deck of imagery, right? But I think overall it really looks quite beautiful. We'll line it out so we can see it all in a row. Love the key. This pops a little bit more illustrative, like the child and the people cards. Again, I think that's good if you're going to have a mix, then you want to have enough of each of the styles so it doesn't just feel like one card standing out by itself. I actually quite like this fish card. Anchor. And then the cross. Again, I like the cross. Is just kind of a basic cross. There's not any strong connotations here, but we do know it's the acorns. We do know that it's winter. It's that sort of weighted cross here in many different ways. I like that that wasn't changed. So this is definitely set up to be just a traditional deck reimagined with the, let me come out as far as I can here. So that, well, so that we can fit it into a grand tableau. There's not any extra cards that are in here. It is a traditional rendering with different graphics that have been pulled in. But if you fan them out, like they look like, you know, they've done a pretty good job in terms of cohesiveness. It's always difficult when you're using a variety of different graphics, right, to find a way to have it be cohesive, even though it's not one artist doing all of the imagery. And so that can always be a challenge there, but I feel like they have succeeded here. But let's put them all out into a grand tableau. again, for me, the big draw of this is I love the German associations, and I like the seasonal associations. If I'm doing sort of a year ahead grand tableau, which I do have clients that get on their birthdays or at the beginning of the year, I think having those seasonal cards and the seasonal nods in there could be really useful as well. I don't know why I'm shuffling them this much, but I wanted to get a good shuffle. So let's get them, lay them all out. Can I get them? Let me try. 1, 2, I don't know. Sometimes if I have a small enough regular size or bridge, I don't think this is considered bridge. Let me grab, this is a bridge size. Yeah, this I think would be considered poker, though it doesn't seem quite as, let me grab this. So this is poker. Yeah, it's kind of in between. This is poker, and I'll turn it this way. This is bridge, so it's slightly wider bridge, but not by much, so that might work. Okay, so I like this sizing because it is slightly, it's bridge. It's like a slightly wider bridge. So that's nice because bridge is nice for getting a grand tableau out on the table. Let me put cards away so I don't mix them up. So there we go. So we have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, nope, 8. So we're going to do an 8x4 plus 4, even though that's not what I do. I can get a full grand tableau. Well, let's just try, because I do want to actually use this deck. So let's just slide it over and see what bits we need to shift off of here to make that happen. You know, you want the pretty bits and bobs, but sometimes they just get in the way of getting down to business. There we go. And I could have brought this whole thing down further so it's not so high up there, but I'm not moving it all, so we're just going to keep going. Again, visually, I really do like this. Even with the mix of styles, where we've got sort of these, again, what I guess I would call maybe illustrations versus artwork. I think that it blends nicely and pops things. Nothing from this, for me, stands out for like being confused about what I am looking at. Yeah, I do quite like the look of it. I think they may have done put some filters, and like they said, burnishing, you know, images onto the parchment. I feel like, you know, this looks to me like this is a digitally done, you know, where you have this background image of parchment and then these are put on there and then worked in, but I feel like they've worked with the tones so that it goes nicely. It doesn't feel jarring. The only things that stand out super bright are the heart, the sun, and the star. Not even the ring. I feel like the ring blends in visually. So these do pop in terms of color, but I don't mind it, right? It kind of grabs your attention. The sun should grab your attention. The star is sort of makes sense to grab your attention. Even the moon makes sense to grab your attention. So I would say these three stand out the most to the rest of it, but I actually quite like it visually. So yeah, I'm excited about this. Again, it's a solid, it's not doing anything different, right, in the sense that it's just the basic 36 images, the traditional images that we see. It does what it's supposed to do. It's obvious what they are. None of the images are confusing, which is important with Lenormand. But then the addition that what is brought to the table, and why I would pull this out from another deck that has compilation type images, is the German suits. I really love that. And again, I do like the cue into the seasons. I think this could be really interesting in considering timing, not just timing as that this is going to happen in winter or this is going to happen in summer, but I have other connotations to the seasons and what might be happening in a particular situation, and sort of that trajectory of the way that fall follows summer and winter follows fall and spring comes and follows winter, that sort of cyclical nature of time and the year. That could be interesting to play around with when you're paying attention to those seasons, because they are on the cards. So I'm excited to utilize this deck and see how I get on with it in terms of usage. But for me, the real winner here is the traditional German suits on them, which make, again, a lot more sense than the standard indices on there. So I'm excited about this. I wanted to look through it with you and show it to you. Links are in the description, so that you can take a look at what they are, because again, I don't want to slaughter the name of the company or the creator. But there you go. It's always a joy to look at Lenormand things, but especially when there's that like little treat there of bringing something to the table as to why I would choose this over another deck in my collection. That brings something for me to be a reason why I would choose this over another deck, and that's always exciting to get into your collection. So have a wonderful rest of your day.